Niners football in the 916 Sactown Sports.
Flashback Friday with Jay. Phantom in today. You want a Flashback Friday? Look at the Phantom joining us.
Here we go.
Yeah. Whitey, glad you're with us. We get ready for the 49ers and the Minnesota Vikings. Going to go, as they say, behind enemy lines.
Oh,
we have
welcome,
no reason.
Welcome him in. Come on.
We have no reason to have anything against this gentleman, at least not yet.
I don't like him.
Yet. He is a Vikings beat reporter for the Purple Insider, a daily Vikings newsletter. Matthew Coller with us. Matthew, how are you today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great. I honestly can't wait for this football game. You know, I'll tell you, when your team has a good week one, it's an enjoyable lead up to week two, isn't it? I mean, because all the teams that had blowouts, they just feel like their season's over. So now the Vikings feel like they could beat anyone, maybe except for the 49ers.
Well, let's ask you about, of course, Sam Darnold. Are Viking fans feeling good about Sam Darnold? Are they excited? Are they skeptical, or what? After he played so well in week one.
Yeah, I think that it is timid belief. Maybe put it that way, because, well, I mean, it was the New York Giants. So you're talking about maybe a team that could draft in the top 5 this year, not exactly somebody that you're using as a measuring stick type of team. Well, that's where the 49ers come in. And I don't think that Sam Darnold has to beat the 49ers for Vikings fans to buy in, but he does have to play well against them to where you think, well, maybe this could be kind of a fun season with Sam Darnold. The fan base overall is in a little bit of a weird place because, everyone's waiting for J.J. McCarthy to play, but he's not going to play for next year. And they're waiting for the team to build around with the salary cap space of a rookie contract, J.J. McCarthy in next year's free agency, and maybe draft a defensive tackle next year. That's a lot of what the conversation is about. But, there's 16 more games to play with Sam Darnold. So I think what everyone wants this season to be is, A, entertaining. Maybe you get a few Sam Darnold games where he beats somebody that he's not supposed to beat. And the other thing is just to show signs of belief in Kevin O'Connell and the offense that they're building here for when J.J. McCarthy takes over. So it's a bit of an odd place to be because of that.
Matt, I remember looking at the schedule before the season and after the Giants game, it looked like you guys had a kind of a tough schedule the next 6 or 7 weeks. So how important was it for you to grab that first win? And is it in-house there? Are you looking at the next 6 weeks as like an uphill climb?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it was enormous. If they lost that game, I know that week one can't put a season to an end, but it would have felt like it. Because when you're talking about San Francisco this week and then the Houston Texans next week, we'll see what Jordan Love's status is. They go to Green Bay after that. Then they have the Jets in London, Detroit, Los Angeles. I mean, these are all teams that have very high expectations and a lot of talent, and you're just not going to run over those teams. And I think if you're the Vikings, if Sam Darnold gets behind the 8 ball, what we've seen before in his history is I think that he loses confidence at times. We could blame offensive lines and wide receivers and bad coaching of his career before, but the tendency for him is he'll get rolling a little bit, but as soon as he hits a stumbling block, he falls on every single stumbling block. So I think it's important for him to get some momentum going, get some trust for Kevin O'Connell, get a touchdown pass, to Justin Jefferson and an explosive play, 44-yard throw to him, and start to build that trust between them and start to believe in himself a little bit, because I think we landed on a guy here who's been beat up quite a bit by the NFL, and they are actually able to give him one of the best positions that they can here. But if you lose 3 games in a row, then we might run into the same thing that's happened to Darnold before, where he gets in that rut and can't get out. So I think that it is important for him to play well in this game, maybe get 1 out of the next 3 just to go into that London game in week 5 at 2-2 and feel like you've kind of survived the toughest part of the schedule.
Catching up with Matthew Coller from the Purple Insider, Vikings beat reporter. Matthew, the 49ers have their heaviest investments in the front 4, and like a lot of teams, everything with their defense, of course, starts with getting pressure on the quarterback. So long story short, what is the state of the Vikings offensive line right now?
Well, they have 2 of the best tackles in the NFL, and last week they faced Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns and made them completely irrelevant with Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill. Now, that will not happen with Nick Bosa. Last year, Nick Bosa, I didn't even think took over the game. I looked back, he had 6 pressures. I was like, man, that's like a bad game for that guy. So they know that he's going to be a problem, and they're going to try everything that every other team tries to stop him that never works. But at least they can hang on for dear life against him. And Christian Darrisaw is just other than Trent Williams, probably the best player at that position in the NFL. So they feel like they're in great shape with the tackles. They could trust them. But the interior, the right guard and center are just catastrophic. Last week, at right guard, Ed Ingram allowed more pressures than anybody else in the NFL at guard last week and had the lowest PFF grade, which, after watching the tape back, can agree with the folks at PFF. Very strongly agree, actually. It was one of the worst performances by a guard I have seen, and this team has had a lot of bad guards in recent years. So that is a disaster. And I wonder, because Ed Ingram showed up, he's the right guard on the injury report, I wonder if they might decide to go with somebody else behind him, because it was really that bad last week. So I think that's what we're all kind of watching for, is can they survive the interior pressure of the San Francisco 49ers, because they're still, across that line is so dangerous, because if they can, and Sam Darnold gets time to throw, the guy has a cannon. He could throw the ball as well as anybody in the NFL, but he does hold on to the ball a little too long. He does have happy feet sometimes. And if you're pressuring up the middle, like Dexter Lawrence did about 20 times, it felt like last week, it can be a problem big time for Sam Darnold.
Hey, Matt, Aaron Jones absolutely gouged the 49ers last year. Going into this week, what do you think the plan is for Aaron Jones attacking this 49ers defense?
I think that they desperately need Aaron Jones to have weeks like that, like he did against the Giants, week after week after week, to play off of, not just play action, but also just the threat of it. It was really, really effective last week. I think what we saw, number one, from Aaron Jones is that he may be on the wrong side of the running back age curve, but he has not lost a step. When this man is healthy, he is as explosive as anybody in the league. I don't think if he ran a 40 against the fastest running backs, he would win against too many. But when we're talking about in a 5-yard type of area, when he needs to dodge a tackler, his vision is unbelievable. This is a guy who over his career has averaged about 6 yards per carry against the Vikings. So already we had a ton of respect for him. And then he was dominant against the Giants. It needs to be that way, though, because the more you put Sam Darnold in third down and long and in tough situations, well, that's it, the more that Nick Bosa just starts, feasting on everything around him. And you don't want that. So I think that Aaron Jones is incredibly important to the success, and at least the early returns have looked excellent from him. He had a really good training camp, and it's all about his health, but he came out of week one healthy, and I think that he is really their most, outside of Justin Jefferson, their most dangerous asset on offense.
Yeah, this kind of follows up on that, Matt, a little bit. Bill Belichick always said he's going to take the one guy out he thinks it can hurt him, and he's going to take him out. And you'd think that people would do that against the Vikings with a Justin Jefferson. Have you seen that approach from other teams? And why would that not work if they tried that?
For 4 years, I've seen that approach of every single team the Vikings play. Every single defensive coordinator has their own unique plan, and sometimes it means three guys with their backs turned looking at him. I think number one, you're talking about a guy who runs a 4.4 and is about as good at jumping up and getting the football as anybody. So he can run by people. He can rise up over people. His technical route running is absolutely unbelievable. He doesn't even have to be open to be open. Last week they were trying to double team him at times, and he just ran by somebody, juked somebody. And the other part of it too is Kevin O'Connell, when he's up at night at 4:00 in the morning watching tape, as all head coaches do, you know what he's trying to figure out? How can I get Justin Jefferson open? That is what the entire offense is. How can I get Justin Jefferson open? And when the other team does dedicate three people to him, how can I get somebody else open? And that has worked incredibly well. There's never been an answer for him throughout his entire career. And I've only seen him really slow down a couple of times. So, I think it's a mixture of not only his unbelievable talent, but also the fact that he has a head coach that the strongest part of Kevin O'Connell is his ability in the passing game. He worked with Sean McVay. He came from that tree, and you really see it. The same way with Cooper Kupp. Why can't they ever stop Cooper Kupp? I don't know, man, because they know how to dial it up, and I think Kevin O'Connell's really good at that.
Hey, Matthew, before we let you go, let me ask you, am I right here? What I hear you saying, you're being very respectful of the 49ers and you're being very humble, but I sense, and I understand it if it's true, that you and the Vikings have a pretty good amount of confidence going in this game. Is that an accurate assessment for this matchup this week?
Well, yeah, I think when you beat the tar out of somebody, you go into the week and go, okay.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about this Vikings roster that, there's so much attention for the quarterback position, and obviously that makes sense to me. But when you go through, it's so many proven and veteran players. You go through the defensive side and you have guys like Andrew Van Ginkel, Jonathan Grenard, who are not really household names, but you're talking about Grenard had 12 sacks last year. Van Ginkel has been such an effective all-around player for a long time. They brought in Stephon Gilmore, who looked great last week. I mean, a lot of things have come together for them to be, I think, stronger as a total roster, not the quarterback position, than maybe people thought going in when they were picking them last. But I don't think they're on the same level as the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, it's a team that was in the Super Bowl. It expects to be in the Super Bowl every year that they have this group of players. I mean, how many teams can you say have 3 or 4 guys that are the best player at their position the whole league? Well, you could say it for San Francisco. So this is the bar. I mean, right? This is who you measure yourself against. It's great that they beat the Giants. They are not very good at football at all. So now, how do you look against the real team? I think that's what we're interested in finding out. But I mean, nobody here is picking the Vikings to beat the 49ers, though.
Matthew Coller from the Purple Insider. Thanks, Matthew. We appreciate it. Enjoy the game. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
All right, you're very welcome. So, yeah, there's a lot of confidence in Minnesota.
A little quiet confidence there.
That's what I sensed, and I don't blame them. I think they got I think they have a really good roster.
Yeah.
And we focus, like he said, on the quarterback. Oh, Sam Darnold, he's no good, so they're no good. But that's a pretty good team. I think they're going to be better than the Bears.
I should have talked to him before my fantasy draft. I didn't take JJ, and I should have taken JJ.
Who'd you take instead? Who do you have?
Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, well.
And then I traded him.
Well, that was a good move.
Yeah, I thought it was.
That's Phantom. When we come back, we're going to find out from Phantom, an original season ticket holder for the Kings, what he thinks of our Kings Top 40. Also, we'll look at the latest name to pop up in the Warriors Star Search. Next with the Drive Guys, Sactown Sports.
Hello, I'm Frank Ockrell with the Retirement Security Center.